Welcome back to episode 31 of the Service Design Podcast. As always, we take the opportunity to speak to the winners of the Service Design Awards, and today is the first of these episodes. We'll be speaking with Emily Risberg-Hallström, Sarah Thunheden, and Ulrika Lundin from Innovationguiden. They won the Best Cultural Change in Public Sector Award. Innovationguiden is a project that aims to support and reinvigorate the Swedish public sector through service design. And it's really inspiring to hear how they, as a very small team, have managed to teach hundreds of people and indirectly involve tens of thousands of citizens.
Good morning. We're joined by several ladies from Sweden who have won the award, the Service Design Award, with their project from Innovationguiden. I'm going to leave the Swedish pronunciation to you. Could you please introduce all of yourselves? Who do we have on the line today? Let's start with you, Sarah.
Hi, I'm Sarah, and I work as a service designer and project manager at Innovationsguiden, or the Innovation Guide. And the Innovation Guide is a support tool for municipalities, country councils, and regions to help them work with service design by themselves.
Great. And what about you, Julia?
So my name is Julia Olander, and I work together with Gunilla Gudmunds here in Gothenburg City. And we work with Innovationguiden and service design and trying to implement those methods in the Gothenburg City organization.
It's great to have you both here. We always like it when we have the two sides of the story of a project. Sarah, could you maybe explain a little bit more of what the Innovationguiden is?
Yeah, the Innovationguiden is a support system, you can say, to help municipalities, country councils, and regions to be able to work with service design by themselves. And to do this, we have different kind of tools. First of all, we have this digital platform with a step-by-step procedure that you can follow with introduction movies and templates to understand how to start to work with the service design mindset. So it could be understand how you can involve your user to understand their needs and also how to co-create with your user. So it's this digital platform, but it's also like short courses. We call it crash courses in service design, and the development programs, like 8-month programs where you apply with a challenge and that you work for 8 months from start to the end with your challenge to find new solutions.
Mm-hmm. So is Innovationguiden a public organization, or is this a private organization?
Now we are part of SALAR. It's the Swedish Association for Local Authorities and Regions. And it's a membership organization. So it's an organization where like municipalities and regions are members. So we have become a part of SALAR. So in the beginning of the Innovationguiden, we started out as a pilot project, but now, and SALAR was our client, but now we have been a part of our client organization.
So does that mean that you were first coming from a service design consultancy firm and then moved into this organization, or?
No, we were never a consultancy. It was the pilot was actually project that was run by Swede, like the Swedish Industrial Design Foundation. So, and Swede aims for helping both public sector and private sector to use design as a tool for develop services.
Okay, great. And Julia, when did you first came into contact with Innovationguiden?
We came to contact with the Innovationguiden for like 2 years ago. We were part of evaluating the methods with Sarah and Ulrika in Stockholm. So we had the opportunity to try the methods in a project challenge that we had here in Gothenburg.
Mhm. And did your experience trying it out also have an effect on the program itself? Was it more like a pilot trying it out, or was it already a fully matured progress?
For us, it was a pilot project.
Mm-hmm.
How did you and your colleagues experience this pilot project? How was it for you to go through this process?
We thought it was a really fantastic way of working, that you involve the users from the beginning and that you cooperate with them throughout the whole process. And we really find it very interesting and wanted to start work this way in Gothenburg City as well. Because we have developed a lot of solutions, but this is really a way of getting to the possibility to develop the right solutions by involving the users.
So I was wondering if you tackled a specific challenge when you started working with the Innovation Guide. Was there a certain topic that you guys chose in Gothenburg and worked on for a couple of months? And what kind of topic was that?
We knew that those parents who have kids with disabilities, they do have a very much contact with the city, and they have many contacts in the city. So we wanted to see if we could make the ordinary life easier for them. So that was our topic, to see if we could do something to make it easier for them.
And how did the Innovation Guide help you with that? What were specific tools or methods you implemented through this guide?
We went the journey, and the methods we used, we started to meet the users, and we were having interviews with them, and we also let them use these diaries, and from that we then got our insights. Then we worked with them together with employees in the city, and from there everything ended up in that we made like a prototype of a website for those parents who have kids with special needs. That was the solution.
Mm-hmm. And has this solution been implemented by now? And is there any way that you can see if improvements have actually been made?
We are still working on implementing it.
Mm-hmm.
And how did the guide help you the most? What do you think was the most useful part of the Innovation Guide to help you in this process of developing a solution for the parents with kids with special needs?
Well, I think we were, as Julia said before, we were a member of this pilot project. And I think what was very good that we had also this coaching alongside. So we were not alone on this journey. We had these meetings in Stockholm, and we also had our coach that was helping and guiding us all the way. And I think that was also very important for us.
Mm-hmm.
And Sarah, can you explain a little bit more about the coaching, how you implemented it and how you supported the different municipalities?
Yeah, as Gunilla and Julia says, like they were part of the pilot, and the pilot then become the development programs. But what's happened is actually that 10 teams start at the same time, and they get guided through like a process where you first have to define your challenge and then go out and explore and get to know your users. And then we teach like different methods like service safari, customer journey, interviews, observation. And then they do this focus step when they choose like what should we develop, and then ideation and prototyping and realization. So it's a step-by-step like service design process that I follow. But what we do in the development program that Göteborg was a part of is that we have, during a period of 8 months, we have 3 meeting or workshops in Stockholm. And the first meeting is in the start of the process, and one in the middle and one at the end. And on this meeting, we introduce, like, first of all, service design thinking, but also methods that they can use. And then they are working on their own with their projects at home. But all the time they have a coach connected to them. And so they can Skype with the coach and get feedback where they are at, and also input, like what could we do next. So they always have someone to hold hand with during the process.
I have a few more questions about Innovation Guide itself. How many people are there in Innovation Guide at the moment? Is it just a couple of people
that are working with the Innovation Guide?
Yeah.
Like the core here is now 5 people. We are 3 full-time and 2 part-time. But if you look at how many teams that have done the development program, we are now up in 140 teams that have finished the journey that Gunilla and Julia told you about.
Yeah.
And we were actually counting this yesterday, like how many end users have been involved, even if there are like many different challenges. But we counted up to 2,800 end users have been involved during this period of 3 years.
That's a real domino effect, isn't it?
Yeah, and what we also do, like apart from the development programs, is also that we have these crash courses where we train service design for 2 days, like a real intense course where you get to understand the process from like defining a challenge to actually prototyping, and go out in the city doing interviews and also ideate and go out and test prototyping. And that's something that we now are doing train-the-trainee courses in. So we train people in the municipalities or country councils to be able to hold these courses on their own. And Göteborg is also an example of that. So that's also interesting how they start to spread service design as a mindset and way of working.
Yeah. So I'm curious about the logistics of this. So how, with just a small team of people, do you get to put 114 teams through this process? How does that work practically?
Yeah, practically what we have is a coach network, because we think that if this should work, every team should have a coach. But we understand that just being 3 people here, it's not going to work if we're coaching everyone. So what we have done is this coach education. So you have like, if you know a service designer work in the public sector, but it could be in an authority or in a municipality or a country council, it doesn't really matter. But if you work in public sector and have knowledge about service design, we give them a coach education and also connect them to one of the teams that are in the development program. So every team have a coach. And we also have this support system with the coaches so they can support each other if they get hard questions from their teams. And also that we, the Innovation Guide, support the coaches so they all the time feel safe in coaching others.
Yeah, I think it's pretty impressive that with such a small team you managed to reach so many people. And so what you already said was train the trainer, coach education. But I also was wondering if involving leadership and politicians is something you take into account. That's something we also work for local governments here in Belgium. And that's something we realize is a very important step as well. So I was wondering if you're also doing that, and if yes, how are you dealing with those decision makers?
Yeah, we saw in the pilot that we did, like the first development program, that it was really important for the leaders to be involved, because otherwise it was hard for the team to actually get the solution out in the organization. So therefore, we have a demand. If you are applying to be a part of the development program, you should have a team, but you should also have a leader assigned to that team to be able to have the mandate to make the team get the right decisions for going forward. So they should be a part of the development program, but we also have a special leader training, and it's what we call lead in development. So it's a one-day training course for leaders. And that's all about how do you build a culture of testing, and how do you build a culture where a part of what you're doing is to involve your users. We have also tried out during this year what we call eye openers for leaders and politicians, and it's a half-day training day where you get introduced to what is service design. You do one practical. You try out the service safari and interviews, and then we talk about the role of a leader or the role of the politician to be able to act in when we have this mindset in public sector. So how to enable this way of working.
Mm-hmm. Question for Gunilla and Julia. In your situation, could you talk a bit about leadership and how they were involved in the program? Were they full support of this, or did you also need to do some convincing about a different way of working?
We had some leaders, important leaders involved from the beginning. So that was really great, very important for the process to continue. So we had that. And now that we in Gothenburg City are educating a lot of our employees in Innovation Guide and service design, we have also educated all our leaders and some politicians in Innovation Guide through this eye-opener course that we just talked about. So we think it's very important, of course, to involve the leaders.
Yeah. No, I was wondering if that's something recent. So the leadership really believing in this design approach, and if that's something that has only happened in the last few years, or how has the evolution of that been? That's what I was curious about.
Okay. I think that if we should solve the challenges that the public sector has now and in the future with the welfare, it's very important to involve the users throughout the whole development process. And I think that the leaders really understand that. But it's one thing to understand it and commit to it than to really be able to practice it. That I think it's a big challenge, because it's a lot about doing this together, and that is that we have to work together in our organizations, and that is, I think, one of the big challenges, to do this together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can imagine it's a pretty big challenge as well to start doing these different kind of things, because you, of course, have your regular job that you also have to manage to finish that. How are you dealing with that, Julia and Gunilla? How do you still do what you actually have to do from the couple of past years that was your regular job, and then now also try to implement this new way of working in the organization?
Me and Gunilla have been working with developing the organizations in Gothenburg City for a couple of years now, and part of our job is to implement new methods, a new way of working that support this way of thinking and develop. So these are parts of our job, is to do this.
Okay, and did you see this question, or did this question get raised by other colleagues, that they thought it was some extra work or some different things that they didn't manage to combine with the stuff that they were already doing?
Yeah, it can be quite difficult sometimes, because you do have a project and you are quite... you know how you should solve the problem, and this is a kind of new way of working. You don't really know what will be the outcome from the beginning, and that's a new way of thinking also. So you have to work more in interactions and be more agile, and I think that is a challenge, and it's a new. It's also a new mindset that we have to develop. You have to be open-minded and stay curious, and allowed to make mistakes, and have this allowing culture. And that is a big change in our organizations.
Yeah. Is that something also, this new way of working, is it something people got a mandate for in the organization? So that, for example, management say it's now allowed to make some changes. And if you have some evaluation of projects, that it's also really something which is okay to work in this kind of way, or how is it implemented in the culture of your organization?
We are just trying to implement this, and I think it's getting more and more accepted, because we can see a lot of benefits with this way of working, and it's also much more fun to work this way, because you have to be curious about your users, and you're doing this together. Together is better, as we used to say here. And you get to know your users. You start to create a relationship to them, and you get to understand their needs. And I think that makes the work much more meaningful. And it's much easier for us working this way to also be able to develop the right solutions that the user needs. And that is also very satisfying for us. So I think we're starting to see the benefits with this way of working, and that's make it much easier to spread this kind of methods in our organizations.
For Sarah, the different teams that you have been working with, did they all come to you with the question to get the help, or are there situations where they are obliged to work with you? How does that work?
When they work in the development programs, they always apply. So
Okay.
They come to us with the application, and we also have this demands that they should have a team, have a project leader, have a leader connected to them, and that they should assign hours to work with this challenge, and they should tell us what the challenge is.
Mm-hmm. And so that's already a good starting point, I think, that these are teams that want to do this. Do you nevertheless, is it always successful then? Do these teams always end up working in a new way? Or is it sometimes, doesn't it work?
Yeah, of course. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't work, because I think, but a lot has to do with like we said before, if the leaders support the process, it's much easier for the team to actually work and know that they have support in their own organization. Sometimes we see that they, in the end of the development program, choose not to finish their solution, but they see that now we should work in another way, and we should start working with this instead. So we can see that they make choices from the knowledge that they gain, and some teams are more in it to actually learn a new way of working. But when it comes to finishing the development program, we see that almost all the teams that have applied are going through the development program and are trying out the steps in the program. But we have a lot of great solutions as well that we now try to spread by making short movies, so we can inspire others in this is a way that you can work, and this is a solution, and the solution itself could be spread, but also the mindset is are we trying to help the teams and the municipalities to spread to others.
Okay, because that's one thing I was wondering indeed. I'm sure in each team, really good things happen. They get good ideas, different ways of working. How do you make sure that the others can benefit of this? That's through the videos. Are there different ways of sharing this knowledge?
Yeah, I think that's something that we're working on right now. We want to be better at supporting our teams to spread their solutions, and spread how they have worked with it. But what we also see now, because it's like 140 teams that have been through the program, we can also recommend them. Like if you are from a municipality and maybe we know another team from that municipality have worked in the same way, or we know someone that is close by, so we can also connect people to each other so they can use each other to inspire in their own organization. Do you get what I mean? So they.
Yeah. Yes, yeah, it's something we also see. Like we work for local governments here as well, and of course they have the same problems, the same services that they offer to the citizens. So it's really valuable when they share the knowledge with each other, and it doesn't always have to be like exactly the same solution because every city, every town is different. But still, they can learn so much, and like implementing a network that they can learn from each other, I think would be super valuable here in Belgium as well.
Yeah. And I think one key factor is that they should own their own project. Like they should always feel that they are the owner of their solution and the process themselves. So they don't do it for our sake. They all the time do it for themselves. And then it becomes much easier to actually keep working with it, even if they have stopped the program. Then they know that this is our solution, and this is it's we benefiting from doing this. And as Julia said, that it's create this engagement, and you find that this is a fun way of working. And I think that in itself make it also you are proud of what you have done, and then it becomes more interesting to actually talk about the solution and the process to spread it.
Great. The topic of the conference was implementation, and I also read somewhere on your description about your project that is often the hardest part for governments, and I fully agree with that. Coming up with ideas can be quite easy in comparison to actually implementing it and making the change. How are you managing that part in the Innovation Guide?
First of all, we try to help our teams to not think about like one process to come up with a solution and one other process to implement, to rather see the process in itself as a help to implement. So if you start thinking implementation when you're actually defining the challenge, and you start thinking how can we involve people in the organization when we present like the result and the insights from the exploration phase. So use the process in itself to involve other, what do you call it? The people you work with, colleagues. So if you use the process to all the time present the insights and also invite people to be a part of ideation, invite people to prototype together with you, then when you come to implementation, it doesn't really feel that it's a new chapter that is starting. It's more that you as an organization feel that this is the right way to go. So by using the process in itself as the start of implementation, rather than seeing that we're doing a project and then we try to implement the project.
Mm-hmm. So now you've gone through the program multiple times. Has it changed? Have you really learned from the early versions and changed the way you do it at the moment? What were the big learnings along the way?
Yeah, I think we have all the time approached this as like an iterative process that we learn from every development program we do. We evaluate, and by coaching, we also get to know a lot about what the team members understand and what is hard to understand. So we pick that up, and then we try to make it easier in the next program, and then we try to make it easier in the next program. So we use the programs as new prototypes all the time, and I think it becomes more and more refined, but we see it as we develop further and further, and also that we come up with new support, like new educations or new training programs when we see that something is missing. So now we have the development program, the crash course, the course for the leader, the eye opener. But if we see that something more is needed, we add that. And also if we see that something isn't needed anymore, we can take away that. So we see that our users, like the people in the municipalities and country councils, they get more and more mature, and the understanding of service design are now higher. So we see that maybe we need to all the time develop our support.
So it's learn by doing as well.
Yeah.
But if, of course, you can, so also in your process, it's necessary to try out things. Maybe sometimes things don't work, and you have to do it in a different way. But is there something that you would give as a tip to people who are in a similar project? Like this would be really something that we could have done different, or this was something, if I knew it beforehand, I would do it in a different way to make the project more successful?
I've been thinking a lot about that question, because I think that by doing it the way we have done now, we have learned all the time and put it into the program so they develop. But if I now, like when I started, have known that we would reach so many people, I would have thought differently in how to start to build networks from the beginning, for example, and also how to spread solutions from the beginning. This is something that we start working with now, but if I had known how big it would be, I would have thought about it in the beginning, to have like easy ways to spread solutions and easy way to connect to others.
So, do you think, are there like digital solutions that could really support this if they had been there from the start? If so, what do they look like?
I think for us, our next step is more digital solutions. And when it comes to maybe web courses, but also to be able to do education from Stockholm with someone up north in Sweden, and we can do it by Skype or some other video solution. But I think if we have started with that in the beginning, it would be hard to understand the content. I think by working the way we have been working, now we have a good understanding of what the content should be, and now we apply it in a digital way. So I don't know, even if we had the opportunity to work more digital in the beginning, I don't know if that would be good, or if it's good that we have make this way and really be close to our users and understand what they need to be able to work with service design in their own context. And then we can take the step to put it into like web education and so on.
So what are the next steps for you, Sarah?
I think the next step, because what we see, what is a part of like the obstacles now for the teams to be a part of like the development program, is that we have a start, like a specific date where you should start, and also that we are located in Stockholm. So I think if we could be more flexible, like to start the development program where you wanted to start, and to make it as short and long as you want it to be, like now at 8 months, but could have been 6 weeks or 1.5 years, and be possible to do it in your own municipality, not traveling to Stockholm. So that's why we now developing digital solutions to do the development program in a digital way. We still have to see how to connect teams with each other and to have a close and personal contact. So I think that is something that we want to work with, how we do it digital, but still keep it really personal. And so it's more people to people than it's just a digital solution. So that's the next step, and also that we should continue developing our like train the trainer courses. So instead of us going out doing a lot of crash courses, we have like local persons, local hubs like Göteborg, being able to do the crash courses and inspire others in their own organization.
Sounds great. So what is the next step for you, Julia and Gunilla? What are you going to do next with the Innovation Guide?
Our next step is to also have this development program here in Gothenburg city, and we will start in the beginning of February next year. And we already have a lot of interested innovation teams. They want to join us, and we will continue this development program as a pilot through 6 months. And we are hoping that this will be something that we will continue to do here in Gothenburg to spread service design, spread the mindset, and spread the innovation guide.
Mm-hmm. So now, of course, we were talking because you won the award. Could you say, what does that mean to you? Does it have an impact on how you can do your work? First of all, Sarah, and I'm also curious, Gunilla and Julia, does that mean something for you?
I think for us as a team, it means a lot because you get some kind of feedback and applause from your own, like from the service design network and the service design population, if you can say that. But I think for us, it was also really, really fun for all the teams and municipalities and country councils and regions that have worked with us to see that we are doing this together, because we see our role as being like a catalyst or a snowball, just throwing up balls, but then someone else have to take them further, to just see that this movement of spreading service design have started and so many hands and have taken it further. So I think for all of us that have been involved in this, it's really rewarding.
Mm-hmm. And it's great to see that you can take service design in this way to the next level, to really spread it out and to raise awareness in all Sweden. I think is what you did there. So I think that's a very inspiring case for a lot of other countries all over the world that are also actually being confronted with the same challenges as you probably are. Great. So thanks a lot for speaking to us. I think this will be super interesting for everyone to listen to this episode. And congratulations again with winning the award.
Yes, thank you very much. I think it indeed is very inspiring for other countries who are struggling with getting service design spread out through the different government bodies. So, I think this will be very welcome to all those people.
Yes, so thanks for the interview and good luck with developing the Innovation Guide further in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
The Service Design Podcast was brought to you by the Service Design Network and Night Moves. For more information, previous episodes, or to join the conversation, please visit servicedesignpodcast.com. For more information about the Service Design Network, visit service-design-network.org, and for Night Moves, visit nightmoves.be. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider subscribing to this podcast. The intro and outro music is from If the Stars Grow Dim Tonight by Hydrogen Sea featuring I Will, I Swear. Until next time.